What up? It's your boy Wall Street, and I'm back. Ready for another season review for the 24-25 season. And this is a team that I'm excited to be talking about today, the New York Knicks, who fell to the Indiana Pacers in the Eastern Conference Finals in 6 games. They lost in Indiana, and you best believe Timothy Chalamet is pissed. You know, he done flew out to Indiana, saw his team get clapped, and then I'm assuming he left right after that. But he did not look happy towards the end of the game because it kind of got away from the Knicks later in the contest. But overall, right, let's not look at the negatives, because I think this is a big step in the right direction for the Knicks, right? Like I've said many times on this channel, I grew up with most of my friends being Knicks fans. You know, I grew up in the tri-state area, if you will. So this is the best Knicks team I've seen in my lifetime, right? Like, obviously, like, I was alive in, 1999 when they made the finals, but I was not watching basketball. Like, I don't even think I could really have memories yet at that point. So since I've been alive and watching basketball, this is the best Knicks team I've ever seen, right? And, they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in 25 years. They have not been there since 2000, where they also faced off with the Pacers. So this Knicks-Pacers rivalry is just getting better and better every day. It was great Eastern Conference Finals, I must say. So I think the moves that they made, over the last couple of years to get Jalen Brunson, bring in, Josh Hart. They've brought in Mikal Bridges. Obviously, they had Dante DiVincenzo. They traded him and Julius Randle away for Karl-Anthony Towns. But this team that they have right now is an extremely talented team. This might be the most talented roster in the league, right? Like, if you just look at it, like, from top to bottom, like, I will say they're a little bit more top heavy, right? Like, they have a very talented top heavy roster. Their starting lineup is very, very talented. But obviously Tibbs does not play a deep rotation, and their rotation is not super deep. I do like Miles McBride, aka Deuce, but there's not a lot after that, right? Like Cameron Payne, he's solid, but he's not someone that you're really going to rely on down the stretch. Precious Achiuwa is solid. I feel like he could be a little bit better. Landry Shamet, I'm actually a huge fan of, but he will be a free agent, so who knows if he'll be back in a Knicks uniform. We do not know. And PJ Tucker, was kind of hiding on their bench. 40-year-old PJ Tucker, who is still one of my favorite players. But let's talk about the season, right? Let's talk about the season. So the Knicks finished third in the Eastern Conference at 51-31. They started out the season not bad, but they were just kind of like average. I remember all of my friends that are Knicks fans were like, "Oh, the Knicks suck," like, "Oh, whatever." I'm like, dude, you guys are like 3-4. Like, it's the beginning of the season. You don't have to worry about it yet. Like, it's all good. You never know what a team really is gonna do until you hit like the new year, right? After Christmas, that's when you can really start seeing if a team's gonna be really bad, right? Unless you're like, I don't know, like if you're like the Wizards and you're like 2-20. At that point, yeah, you're probably not going to make the playoffs, right? But shout out my Wizards. We're gonna be better next year, I promise. But so, like, they really started hitting their stride like in December. They had a long win streak. I think it was like 8 or 9 games. Where at the start of the win streak they were 16-10. At the end of it, they were 24-10. So 8-game win streak. Then they put together another 5-game win streak in early or late January. They were just they kind of hit their stride. Right then in the middle of the year, right? Like right around December, January, February, that was when they really started clicking. I mentioned this in my video about the Timberwolves. I think it's tough for any team to really get acclimated, and build chemistry when a big trade like the Karl-Anthony Towns trade happens. Like, I don't remember if it was right before training camp or during training camp, but it was like right before the season started. So you don't have a lot of time to adjust and get used to your team. So I think the fact that they got it together pretty quickly is, pretty impressive, honestly, right? And everyone will say, oh, the Eastern Conference is easier, so it's easier to get in stride, whatever, right? Regardless, it's hard to do that on a professional level, even on a non-professional level, of just being able to build that chemistry super quickly. So props to the Knicks for doing that. And Karl-Anthony Towns came in and was, a big piece right away, right? Like him and Jalen Brunson were combining throughout the regular season for 50 points a night. That's a significant portion of your team's offense. So, Jalen Brunson at 26 points a night and Karl-Anthony Towns at 24.4 points per night. Karl was also bringing in nearly 13 rebounds a game, 3 of those being offensive rebounds, 3.1 assists, 1 steal a night, 0.7 blocks. He's got to get better at being an interior defender for the Knicks. But I think that'll come in time. Obviously, Mitchell Robinson's like their big interior defense piece. But Jalen Brunson also did a better job of facilitating, career high 7.3 assists a game in the regular season. So I think there's a lot to like here. Josh Hart is a defensive beast, just getting an insane amount of rebounds. He finished the regular season averaging 9.6 rebounds a game. I really wanted him to get to like 10 rebounds a night just so he could be like he's a shooting guard that's averaging 10 rebounds a night. That's just awesome. So I think he'll get there. He could get there next season. We'll see. OG Anunoby, also a very solid defender, and contributed offensively too. 18 points a night during the regular season. And Mikal Bridges, 17.6 points per game during the regular season. Josh Hart, 13.6. So there is a significant drop off after you pass Deuce McBride, right? Like the starting 5 is accounting for the majority of their scoring. Miles McBride's averaging 9.5 points per game off the bench, 64 games played, only 10 games started in 25 minutes a night. So they got to figure out how to get their bench better, but at the same time, I'm like, Tibbs is not going to play like a deeper rotation than like 7 guys, right? Like you might get him to play 8 guys, but like it's probably not going to happen. But like I said, I like Landry Shamet. I think Landry Shamet offers a lot. He clearly was a piece that they started inserting a little bit more later into the series with the Pacers. So we'll see. But I think if there's a big question, because, and I've talked about this before, is teams are always looking for, someone or something to blame, right? And teams typically get impatient and don't want to wait time for their team to come back next season and do something else. They think they have to change something, right? Which is not always the case. I think if the Knicks had won game 1, which obviously was a crazy finish with Indiana and Tyrese having that, Kawhi Leonard-esque bounce shot to tie the game, send it to overtime, and then the Pacers eventually win that game. I think the Knicks might have won the series, right? So you can't really harp on it too much. But I think if they want to blame somebody, which I feel like they might, because New Yorkers are typically just a little bit more impatient than the rest of the world, they might blame Tibbs, right? And if that's the case, Tibbs might be out and they bring someone else in, right? Maybe they bring in Mike Malone. Maybe they bring in Taylor Jenkins, who just got let go by the Grizzlies. Who knows, right? But I don't think you need to do that yet. I think if there's any change you're going to make, it should not be necessarily with changing around your players, right? You can bring in new players to come in off the bench. I think they do need to strengthen their bench to some extent. But I don't think firing Tibbs is going to necessarily help. It might, who knows? But we'll see if that actually happens. But I think that is a possibility at this point. Tom Thibodeau is currently the winningest active head coach without an NBA Finals appearance. So, and his regular season record is a lot better than his postseason record. So I think that's something to note, right? His regular season record through his career is 524 and 392. That's a win percentage of about 57%. His playoff record is 38 and 47, which is a winning percentage of about 45%. So there is a little bit of a drop off in the playoffs, right? And I think a lot of that has to do with he's running his guys into the ground for the majority of the season, right? And Jalen Brunson, he only played like 65 games this season, so he did get some time to rest and recover, but he's probably getting injured more because he's playing so many games. So I think that's just something to think about. I think part of it is that their bench isn't super strong, so they need to strengthen that first before they're running a deeper rotation, but who knows? But let's talk about what their outlook looks like for the future. So Karl-Anthony Towns is under contract until the summer of 2027, he has a player option for 27-28, which is $61 million. He'll be like 33, I think, at that point, 33 or 34 at that point. So that might be an option that he picks up. I don't know who's going to pay a 34-year-old $60 million at that point, unless you're Paul George. Haha. Joke at the Sixers. But OG Anunoby's under contract until 27-28. He has a player option for the 28-29 season of $48.3 million. Jalen Brunson also has a player option for the 28-29 season of $43 million. If you guys remember, he took that big pay cut, I think last summer. Maybe it was the summer before. I think it was last summer. So that the Knicks, had a little bit more roster flexibility. Obviously, that allowed them to bring in a guy like Karl-Anthony Towns. So big shout out to Jalen Brunson. Mikal Bridges is under contract next season, but after that, he will be a free agent. Josh Hart is under contract until 27-28, in which he has a team option for $22 million. I would have to imagine they're going to pick that up. Mitchell Robinson under contract next season for $12.9 million. Precious Achiuwa is a free agent. DeLon Wright is a free agent. Cameron Payne is a free agent. Landry Shamet is a free agent. And then PJ Tucker has a team option for next season of $3.4 million. I don't know if he's even going to play. I mean, he's 40 years old. So they might just keep him around as like a Taj Gibson type of guy where he's just kind of riding the bench, but he's like a really good vet to the young guys. I don't think that's a bad idea. But we'll see. We'll certainly see. But I think my closing remark here is, also on that note, they don't have a first-round draft pick. Their first-round draft pick is going to Brooklyn for the Mikal Bridges trade. And that's going to be the case for a while. But they do have the 50th overall pick, which is a second-round pick conveyed to them via the Grizzlies. But that's it. I think they were also supposed to have like the 56th pick, but it's like forfeited, I think, for like tampering or something. I don't know. This is like the third or fourth draft in a row where there's not going to be 60 picks because there's a pick being forfeited. I don't understand really what's going on, but I feel like that sucks for the players because it's like now there's less spots for dudes to get drafted. Like, why don't you just give the pick to someone else or something? Or like, I don't know. But that's a whole nother tangent. But let's talk about what is good here and what actually, Knicks fans, I think, should think about going into the offseason. I think if you're a Knicks fan, Knicks fans are never satisfied, but if you're a Knicks fan, you should be happy with how far they made it this season, right? Like, you and I just witnessed the greatest playoff run probably in our lifetimes. If you're under, call it 29, 30 years old, this is the greatest Knicks playoff run you've probably seen in your lifetime, right? So be grateful for that. And I think like the Knicks didn't make the playoffs for like 6 years. From 2014 to 2020, they did not make the playoffs, right? And then they made the playoffs in 2021, lost in the first round, missed in 2022, and then they've been in the playoffs every year since, right? So they lost in the semifinals in 2023 and 2024, and then this year lost in the Eastern Conference Finals. That means they're trending in the right direction. So it's very much so possible that next season they come back and they make it to the NBA Finals, right? Jason Tatum's going to be out the whole year, so the Celtics probably aren't an issue for them, right? And the Celtics weren't an issue when they played them this year in the playoffs. The Cavs, might have some issues getting back to where they were at. Who knows? So the Knicks really could be the team to come out of the East. So I don't think it's worth hitting the panic button and saying some crazy stuff yet and making some hasty moves, whether that's with coaches or players. I don't think you do that yet. I think the Knicks have a lot of potential. Jalen Brunson was the 5th leading scorer in the postseason. And Karl-Anthony Towns was I think the 4th leading rebounder in the postseason. So these guys are showing up when it matters. I think Karl had a few games in the Pacers series where he wasn't really playing up to his standards, and it is what it is. But I'm not going to sit here and say that something should happen with this team. I'm a guy that I think if you are improving year after year, best thing you can do is probably keep the team together, stand pat, and just see what you can do next year, right? Especially with the outlook of the league, right? With the Celtics probably not being a threat next season. The Cavs, who knows what's going to happen with them? They got outed by the Pacers, right? The Pacers just beat the Knicks, but things might have gone differently if the Knicks had won game 1, right? So those are really my thoughts. If you're a Knicks fan, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I'd love to chat with you guys about the Knicks and their season. That's all I got, man. So let me know what it is. Let me know what's up. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. I got plenty more coming. And I'm going to catch you guys later, man. Stay safe, stay up, stay blessed, stay humble, handle business, stand on business. Peace out.